Welcome to another episode of Quarantine Catch Up. I'm your host, Tommy Rinaldi. As always, I'm joined by Chris Famulero. And this week we have the pride of New England, a fellow pirate and a good friend. Please welcome Matt Ambrose. Matt, how you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. I hope you both are as well, and really happy to be here.
We're
I'm
glad to
happy to
have you here. How have you been feeling during this quarantine? We're 3 months in. It's been long, but how have you been feeling? How's the family and everything like that too?
Family's good. It's just me and my parents right now. At the start, it was weird. Like I remember I was working a basketball tournament in Pennsylvania when everything kind of started to shut down, and not really knowing like what was going on with coronavirus. It seemed like the beginning of the week is like, oh, okay, it's gonna come to this country and it'll be fine. And then a couple days later, it was very much not fine. And oddly enough, I was actually hours really away from one of my coworkers and I from Frostburg State, where I'm a grad assistant. We were selected to volunteer at the Atlantic 10 basketball tournament in Brooklyn. That was coinciding with the Big East tournament, obviously, at MSG. So we were going to head out there on Thursday morning and start working, and we didn't get word till about 10 o'clock Wednesday night, right before we were going to leave, telling us not to come. That was before everything got canceled. That was just when everything was saying no fans. All the sporting events were doing that. But it was amazing how everything kind of happened so quickly, and that it was a very uneasy feeling at first. I didn't know a lot about COVID-19 and all that. I didn't want to give it. I knew I was going to come home at some point. I didn't want to give it to my parents, my dad has just turned 60 a couple months ago, and my mom is 58 right now. So I didn't want to give it to them. I was terrified of that. And then also was kind of just, how long is this going to last? And I think over time I've kind of adjusted my mindset and really come to grips with the fact that this is what life is going to be like for a little bit longer. And the toughest part was really kind of getting in a routine, not going to work every day and being on that schedule. I kind of had to adapt to a different routine just to kind of gain some consistency day in and day out. My family we had a trip, not set in stone, but we were planning on going to Europe this summer, and that kind of got the axe, unfortunately. So this, like everyone else, has thrown their lives upside down a little bit, some more than others, unfortunately, but it's gotten better as time has gone on, for sure.
That's really good to hear. It was definitely something that's really weird and new to all of us, honestly. And it's nice to hear that you've adjusted your mindset. It's nice to hear that you've kind of got into your day-to-day thing at this point of everything. What have you been watching? What have you been listening to during all of this? I know it's been hard to fill in all this time. You're used to working and all that stuff, so there's so much free time. What have you been watching? What have you been listening to?
Yeah, so being back home in New Hampshire and just trying to fill time, and some of that has been just hanging out outside, or some of it's just been going through Netflix. I'm watching The Sopranos right now. I'm only on season 2.
That's awesome.
I started the first couple episodes and then just stopped for a few weeks. I just stopped. Well, part of it was I was watching it on Amazon Prime. Then they started to want to charge me for the episodes. No.
No
So I had to
way.
pay for it. So I had to pay. I had to do the free trial of HBO. I think it was when HBO Max started.
Okay.
So I was like, all right, I'll get the free trial of HBO Max, and then that only lasts a week, and then they're gonna grab $15 per month out of my pocket, which whatever. So I'll suck it up. So I'm on season 2 of that, and I'm loving it. It's very interesting. Just I haven't really watched too many. Like, I know there's movies like The Godfather, Goodfellas, things like that. I've never seen those. I know.
Okay.
It's kind of new to me to experience a genre like that. So it's been very interesting. I feel like everyone watched Tiger King also,
Yeah,
and I didn't really like it.
I
Like, I
hated
feel
it.
like I thank you. Okay, thank
I
you.
don't think you're
Because
supposed to like Tiger King. It's
no, there's no one in the whole doc that is like is likable,
Redeemable.
really.
Yeah.
Exactly, because I I always saw people saying if it wasn't quarantine, I wouldn't even watch it, and it's so true. And
Mhm.
I got through it, and I mean, there's the episode where they talk about, oh, did Carol Baskin murder her husband, which she probably did, but I mean, that was like the only one where I was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of went downhill from there.
Hmm.
I I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of it. And then they had that last episode with the I think it was Joel McHale who like interviewed the people through the doc. It's like I don't care. I'm done. I'm done with this. I don't want to watch it anymore. Um, the last season of 13 Reasons Why came out too, and I didn't
Yeah.
even know that. I didn't even know they were making a last season. I didn't even know it was in production. I was just sitting there
Yeah,
one
me
day
neither.
on. No, I just sat there one day on Twitter and I saw people talking about it, and I was like, why this show? And I went on Netflix, like, season 4. Like, okay.
Did you
Um,
enjoy the series before all that? But
I so season 1 I thought was excellent, but I
mhm,
think they could have just stopped there and that's it. And
wholeheartedly.
then what's that?
I wholeheartedly agree.
Oh yeah, because I mean yeah, it's based on the book, but I felt like when I finished season 1, I was like, there's nothing else to talk about. And then they brought back season 2 with the trial and everything, and it's like, okay, I guess there's a story to be told there.
Hmm.
And then I got to the end of that season, and I'm like, okay, there's literally nothing else they can talk about. This is it. Like, please stop. And then they came back for a third season, and I did not like the third season at all. I was not a very big fan of it, but the season they just did, I actually thought was really good. So it kind of redeemed it for me a little bit.
That's good.
Um, but I don't know. They kind of got away from what the show was really about.
Hmm.
I feel like at the end, and it became just another drama, another high school drama, as opposed to. I mean, they did talk about important issues and stuff like that, which is great. Uh, I feel like they kind of just got away from the big point of the show, though, but I still enjoyed it. Um, and then a lot of old games I've been watching, and
Yeah.
I'm kind of starting to get sick of it, honestly. Like, the network up here, the sports network up here that shows the Red Sox, have been showing every win from the 4 World Series runs for the Red Sox. So I've just been
Jeez.
watching those. They're doing
Yeah.
2018 right now. I could just relive the good days when sports were a thing. And
yeah, because as a general Boston sports fan, it's been so hard for you and so long since you've had a winning season in any of your 4 major sports, Matt.
dude,
It's so hard to have to go back to 2018 to watch winning baseball. Okay,
it's terrible, dude. You have no idea.
it
I
sucks.
struggle with it. I
Oh
wake
yeah.
up. Oh, that drought between the Red Sox winning and then the Patriots winning in 28. Yeah, it's tough to take. It was really tough to take. No, but I mean, I don't know. It's I love sports so much, so not having it for the last couple months is just like
Yeah.
I don't know what to do.
Yeah, it's definitely been tough, but at least you do get to watch your sports team get to win again and everything like that. I know Fam's a Mets fan. That's not going
Ooh.
to happen for a while, and I'm a Jets fan,
And I
and
get to
that's
enjoy the
not
second
going to
half of
happen.
last season, okay?
Hey,
And I
you went a
and I
couple years ago.
and I
I was
I
rooting for the Mets.
so I get to see it firsthand.
But going into more about the sports, baseball's finally back, and I think a lot of us are really excited about that. Uh, Chris, you work at SNY, so you get to cover more Mets. Um, what has been your experience hearing about baseball, their back and forth, and it finally being back?
It was weird and it was annoying after a while. Baseball is my favorite sport. It always has been. It was the first sport that I really religiously followed growing up, and not I don't know. It was annoying to just watch the back and forth and really the timeline and how public it was. That was the thing I think that annoyed me the most about it. It was like every other day it was, oh, the owners offered this, the players offered that, back and forth. And I don't know. I just got tired of listening to it. And there was a time that because you look at it and they're arguing over money. And it's like, is this the time to really be arguing over money right now with a lot of people out of work? Not really. But I understood it just from a negotiating standpoint. And when you view it just in the scope of the league itself, the players are entitled to certain things, and they weren't getting that at first. And I mean, 60 games, whatever. At least it's some games. It's better than zero.
For sure.
The Red Sox aren't going to be good this year, though, so it's fine. Like, I'll just I'm fine with a short season, and then we'll go sign Mookie Betts back in the off season, and Chris Sale will come. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. I really wanted them, though. They were talking about it. They were talking about it before they decided on the season about doing expanded playoffs, and they were going to let like 16 teams in. And I was like, oh, sweet. Red Sox could get in with 16 teams. That's enough. Yeah. And then no, they're not doing that anymore. So we're not going to make the playoffs, but it's okay. Maybe the Mets will. I actually saw, Chris, you'll like this. I saw a poll, or not a poll, a ranking. I think it was Bleacher Report that did a power ranking of the baseball teams heading into this season. And the Mets were like 12 or 13 or something like that.
You know what's funny is the Mets aren't even they're not even in the top 3 of their own division. Like, but they're getting like power ranking favoritism for like the playoffs, which is crazy to me because like you have the Braves, who are a powerhouse young team. You have the Nationals, who just came off a World Series where they shouldn't have won, and then you have the Phillies, who are more dominant than they will have been in the last 2 years. And the Mets, I mean, they're a surprising team, and there's no June in the season anymore, so they can't just drop
the ball. Right. That's right.
They can't drop the ball and get like 12 wins in a month. So, you know,
it'll be
on the horizon.
It'll be like the Mets. What was the year? Was it 2018 where they started off like red hot? And everyone was like, "Oh, Mets are going to the World Series." They started off like 13-2 or whatever it was. I think it was. It's just going to be that. They're just going to play amazing for 60 games, and then they're going to get swept out of the playoffs or something like that.
Even if you look at last season, right? So like they had a pretty good opening of the season. They completely dropped the ball at the end of May, all of June, and then they have like the best July they've had in like years. They
That's right.
Dominate the month. Like, you know, Pete Alonso goes on that home run spree. J.D. Davis is a monster. Mets pitching is actually winning games somehow. And then they're constantly digging themselves out of their hole. And then it comes up to like they get eliminated with 3 games left in the season. And then they win their last game of the season on a walk-off home run from a guy who hasn't had a bat in 4 months. Like, that's what the Mets is all about. It's about not getting what you want, but you ended on a pretty sweet note. So I'm excited to see this baseball season. I'm excited at the fact that there's going to be some kind of outdoor sports, because like I do like indoor sports, but I'm with you, Matt. Baseball is easily my favorite sport, and it's just going to be so nice to see players back out on the field and like things happening again. You know, it's not like we don't have to relive old games where you know the outcome. It's
exactly.
It'll be fun to have attention.
Yeah, and I've just gotten, like I said before, like you just get really. At first, it was nice. Like I remember when the quarantine first started, one of the ESPN channels was just showing like old Big East tournament games. I was like, "This is awesome!" I'm just sitting there all day watching like 2006 Syracuse UConn, stuff like that.
Oh,
like it's awesome. It's fun to watch. But then you get like 3 months into it. It's like, oh, here's another game from 1984 where you know the outcome and the picture is blurry and there's no score bug, which annoys me to no end.
Yeah.
That people just watch sports until like mid 90s and just didn't know the score. And it would just pop up. You'd just be like, oh, what's the score? Well, all right, sit and wait for about 10 minutes and then it'll be like, oh, there's the score. Braves are winning 2-0. Cool. All right. It's dumb.
It's really interesting, especially because Matt, you and I both coming from a sports broadcasting background, and we both had time at WSU and being sports broadcasters. I mean, you were the sports director, but we had it drilled into our brains when doing calls that you had to update the score as much as possible.
Yeah.
And then to look back at like vintage sports broadcasting, nobody talks about the score. They're bringing up these weird storylines that nobody cares about, and there's like these random shots of like players in the dugout like smoking and eating in the dugout. And it's like, what is this world that is coming from? And there's people like us who grew up like, man, that's crazy. I want to do that. Like,
I want to go smoke in the dugout. It's like, no. No, but no, you're right, because I somehow went down the rabbit hole of like why I'm like going off on a score bug now of all things, but I like went down the rabbit hole of like how did that become a thing? And I think it was some guy in England who was watching a soccer match, and they didn't show the score for like 10 or 15 minutes, and he just got annoyed. He's like, this is stupid. And then he went to work at Fox, and then Fox started it. And then when it started, everyone was like, get this stupid thing off the screen. And it's like, no.
You're blocking my game here.
You're blocking my view. What are you doing?
That's awesome. I think that really
I've been looking up just weird stuff like that. I've broadened my horizons, I guess.
That's great. I think it's nice to see the transition between, I mean, baseball is one of the oldest sports that we have in America, America's pastime and everything like that. We're getting to see the KBO play with no fans in the stadium, but they fill it with like stuffed animals and everything like that.
Yeah.
Where do you want to see baseball go in the future?
I mean, I'll be honest, I was a little surprised that when they announced this season, they weren't going to do the bubble system like the NBA and the NHL are doing. And I guess they're just going to play in home ballparks, but limit the travel. I don't know. You mean like baseball in terms of like coronavirus, or baseball in terms of just like where the sport's going to go?
I think in general, because baseball, it's not marketed well, in my opinion. I think there's a lot of big superstars that aren't getting their due justice. And then there's also things within the sport itself, like, I mean, there's robotic arms and all that stupid stuff as well. But there's a lot of things that could change. DH just changed. In the NL, there's DH only. There's no more pitchers hitting. What do you think about stuff like that? What do you want to see happen? What do you want to see taken away?
Well, you brought up a good point. The universal DH thing, I think, is awesome, because as much as people, I think mainly Mets fans, when they think about Bartolo Colon hitting that home run, which was freaking awesome. It was just amazing to see. 9 times out of 10, it's boring to watch. And I guess I'm a little biased because I'm an American League fan, and I also grew up watching David Ortiz, and I'd rather watch David Ortiz hit than Bartolo Colon. Sorry, just would rather have that. And it just turns into like an automatic out. Like I talk about it with my dad all the time. It's like you're watching a National League game. Oh, say the 7 and 8 hitters get on base, 2 outs. Oh, they got a rally going. Oh, wait, here comes the pitcher. He's going to strike out in 3 pitches and forget about it. So I'm glad that they're using this season, and they should be doing this. They're using the 60-game season as an opportunity to try out some new things. The universal DH is going to be a thing in baseball within the next probably 2 years. They have the CBA. The CBA runs out at the end of the 2021 season. It's probably going to get implemented, and it should be, because it extends players' careers. You have guys like Ortiz, for example, who really couldn't play the field past like 2008, 2009 on an everyday basis.
Yeah.
And then you have guys like Albert Pujols is still playing, albeit he does play first a lot still, credit to him. But you lengthen his career, you lengthen Miguel Cabrera's career, like these great hitters that play in the National League for a bit and then go to the American League because there's the designated hitter option. They may not be as fleet-footed to still play the field, but they can still swing the bat, and it lengthens players' careers. And that's really what baseball should be focused on, because like you said, Tommy, baseball really isn't good at marketing itself. It's sad because you have players like Mike Trout, who that's a little different because I don't think he really wants to be that face of baseball. He doesn't really want to market himself, so that's a little different. But you have star players that when you look at the NBA, which is like the king of marketing, of course, when it comes to just the game is all over the world. Football does a good job at it as well. But this is a sport that used to be so ingrained in just America. It was the American pastime. And it's lost that. And it's probably now, I don't know, I haven't looked at any numbers recently, but there's no way that it's more of a popular sport nowadays than the NBA or the NFL. It's definitely not the NFL, but the NBA has gained steam over the last several years, and credit to them. They're doing a great job. Baseball doesn't really seem too concerned with that. And I think the reason for that, we kind of caught a glimpse of it from these negotiations. Owners really, they get more opportunities to make money. They kind of make up that money at the gate with fans coming to games. They have more opportunities to sell tickets. You have, for example, Fenway Park's about a 40,000 seat stadium, a little less. You sell tickets to that stadium 81 games a year at roughly a similar price you'd sell tickets for an NBA game, maybe a little less. They're making so much more money at just selling tickets than other sports are able to.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of feeds into the reason why they don't seem too concerned with marketing players. Players should want to be marketed, though. And I think the executives in the MLB, the commissioner, Rob Manfred, who is not having the greatest few months here with the Astros scandal as well.
Yeah.
But players need to be marketed more, and that's how baseball is going to become get back what it had before, because it's really lost that. And by doing things like universal DH, have 9 guys in the lineup that can hit instead of the guy who just bunts. His bunting is stupid. They even put in, I don't know how you guys feel about this, they put in that rule where they're going to put a guy on second base to start extra innings just to like limit how long they're on the field. I don't hate that rule. I really don't. And I used to hate it because they put it in the World Baseball Classic the last time they had it. And it started in the 11th inning. And I think that's okay because compare it to, I'm a hockey fan as well. Hockey does 3-on-3 play.
And that's a great rule too.
And it's awesome. 3-on-3 overtime in the regular season for hockey is amazing. So you kind of have to bend the rules a little bit to resolve a game. I don't think it's as pressing as an issue right now because you don't see a whole lot of games in baseball go like 14 whatever innings. But I think that's another way you can look at making baseball a little more interesting, because guys like myself and Fam, who have watched baseball for a long time, just love the game, played the game. Like your focus in baseball should be, how do we get more younger people involved, interested, want to play, want to watch? And I think doing things like that to make the game more appealing is going to help.
I think the other major thing that baseball really suffers from, mainly in contrast from the NBA, is it's such a regionalized sport. And that really then affects your player base and who really stands out. You know, like Mike Trout is easily one of the best players in the league, and he plays in Anaheim, which is in LA, which you would think he would get a lot of attention, but LA is, or at least Anaheim, has not turned out to be as big of a baseball town as, you know, traditional LA is for the Dodgers. But even looking around the country, you know, like Christian Yelich was MVP caliber for most of the season, and not many people know about him if they're not on social media. You know, like that's the other thing. A lot of baseball games are played on regional sports networks, not on, you know, ESPN does nationwide broadcasts, but even then they bounce around the country based on highlight caliber games. You know, that's the main thing, is that MLB has really fallen behind on highlighting its strengths in the league. Like Mookie Betts is someone you were talking about earlier. He's a standout player. He's fun to watch, but he's one of 9 people on a field, and it's a sport that needs all 9 members to be functioning. You can't just have one star player who plays center field. He's not going to be able to make the play at third base. It's in contrast to the NBA. You have a player like LeBron James who can make a play anywhere on the court. It's kind of a different problem the MLB faces. Is while you're right, they make more money by selling tickets. If you don't have that exciting of a team, but you have one player, that's really hard to sell that many tickets in comparison to one of 5 instead of one of 9.
Yeah, you're right. And like you said, they do show games on, like, ESPN will show games a couple times a week. And I mean, it's all right. I don't think anyone is really like glued to, it's not a big thing.
It's not the best broadcast.
Exactly. And sometimes they'll throw like every single time the Red Sox and Yankees play, this is a good thing, especially now because both teams are good. Every single time they play, they're on Sunday Night Baseball. Mm-hmm. It will never not happen that they aren't on Sunday Night Baseball. So they want to market those things. And this year they were going to put another good rivalry in baseball, Cubs-Cardinals, in London, where the Red Sox and Yankees were last year. So they're trying. I think they're branching out a little more. They've done those Little League games. They were going to go, I'm so mad this isn't happening. They were going to go to Field of Dreams in Iowa this year and do the Yankees-White Sox game, which was so cool. It was such a cool thing. Field of Dreams is such a dang good movie. And so they're trying it, I think, a little harder and marketing the game. But I think the next step really is marketing the players. And hopefully as years go on, they can do that. But they took a huge hit this year because of the stupid Astros scandal. And now that just clouded the sport. The entire offseason, the whole thing was taken up by that one scandal. And it was just so bad. Baseball's had a terrible last 6-7 months with the Astros, and then it seemed like right as the Astros punishments came out, everything got shut down, and these negotiations really started to go public and last forever, seemingly. And so baseball's got some catching up to do.
I think a lot of that catch up happens when, like you said, they have to market to the kids. They have to make people fall in love with the game again. And I think it's an issue with the game being so long. And I think that extra inning rule, the extras rule, will really help speed things up, hopefully. I mean, I know they're trying to implement the pitching clock and everything like that as well. And then for marketing players, there's people like Javi Baez, Fernando Tatis, Arenado. There's these larger than life players that aren't even interacting with people unless it's at the field. And I think they're really missing an opportunity with that. That's another way you can market to kids. And I mean, baseball has been falling behind. I mean, I believe since early mid 2000s, it's not what it used to be, where you have the great rivalries with the Yankees and the Red Sox and a lot of other teams that had these stars. We used to have Bonds. We used to have McGuire. We used to have Sosa. There's all these names that everybody knew. And if you go to any town, no one's going to know who Mike Trout is. And he's one of the best players of all time. And I think that's really a big issue. Fam, I'd actually like to hear your thoughts being an NL focused fan. What do you think of the DH rule?
I think it's great. I think it's kind of overdue. I mean, it's cool every once in a while to have like a Bumgarner or a Syndergaard or, not Chris Sale. Maybe Chris Sale.
Chris Sale is a great hitter. He's an awesome hitter. You're exactly right. We all want to watch Chris Sale.
I think you're well overdue for getting players like you were saying. I mean, it's even pretty big now, especially working at SNY and covering the Mets. It's Yoenis Cespedes was a huge name in baseball, still is a huge potential name for the Mets, and he kind of fell by the wayside because the dude just got riddled with injuries. But he's always coming out with videos that he can, crack a ball like 400 feet. So if that brings in players like that, I'm really a big fan of elongating players' careers because I think baseball, it's the longest game season, it's long games in general. So If you can elongate a player's career by allowing them to hit, go for it. I don't really care about seeing pitchers hitting. It really doesn't matter. I don't care about the strategic value of it. For that, I'm there for the entertainment. And honestly, it should make pitchers better pitchers, because now you can just have them not worry about hitting. You can let them focus on their pitching. They can get all the very few hours they were getting in the batting cages added onto their pitching potential. There's a plus side and a negative side, and honestly, the plus side here heavily outweighs the negative of the NL having a DH. Because, frankly, I do not care about the one in hundreds of pitchers that can hit a home run.
We've been talking about stars for a majority of this conversation. Who are some of your favorite players, whether it's on your team or just active players on rosters right now?
With the Red Sox, it was Mookie, but
he can
maybe
still
he'll
be
come
your
back.
favorite player, man.
He still is one of my favorites, without a doubt. I'm sad he's gone. I really just wanted him to stay with the Red Sox. But it's a business. It's whatever. It is what it is.
Happens.
We just threw a bunch of money around, and for some reason we think giving $70 million to Nathan Eovaldi is a good idea when he has construction paper for an elbow. It's disgusting. It's just not smart at all.
It's like Chad Pennington's shoulder just tore every 5 seconds.
Exactly. And he's probably our number 2 starter this year, so sweet. But I love Xander Bogaerts to death. I love that guy so much. And I'm so glad that finally, after a decade and a half, the Red Sox finally found a shortstop, because you had Nomar for the longest time in the late 90s, early 2000s. He fell off. He's a guy who had a lot of injuries as well.
Mm-hmm.
And his career kind of went sideways because of it. But since then, I mean, the Red Sox have had so many just bad shortstops. Like Edgar Renteria committed 30 errors in a year in 2005. 30.
Yeah.
That's disgustingly bad. Julio Lugo was okay. But then Bogaerts came up, and I knew it because he was a top prospect for a while. But then 2013, when we won the World Series, he came up, and I think he was 20 years old, and he basically was our starting shortstop during the postseason run. And he was good. He had some clutch hits during that run. It was awesome to see. And he's just now molding into a power hitter. They tried to throw him at third base, which didn't work at all. He hit 220 and was not good. But now third base is Rafael Devers, who is probably going to get paid eventually as well. He had a heck of a year last year. Those two guys mainly are awesome to watch. They're just so much fun to watch. And they're kind of the reason why, if it weren't for the pitching for the Red Sox, which is going to be a disaster this year, if it was somewhat okay, I think the Red Sox would actually compete this year, because their offense is still good even without Mookie. But I mean, their number 1 starter right now is Eduardo Rodriguez, and he's good, but he has trouble going deep into games sometimes. But not on the Red Sox. We talked about Mike Trout. I have his jersey. I went to a Angels game with my dad back in 2012 and saw him hit a home run in that game, and got an Angels Mike Trout jersey after the game. Actually, no, it's back in Frostburg. I don't have it here. But then guys like Nolan Arenado is so much fun to watch, and I really, really want him to get out of Colorado, because they're terrible. And people who don't pay attention to watching the games and whatever are like, it's Arenado. He just plays in Denver. That's why he has such good numbers. No, they're the exact same on the road without hitting in the altitude as they are when he's at Coors Field, which, by the way, beautiful ballpark.
Yeah.
Tommy, you mentioned Fernando Tatis, and he only played 50 or 60 games. I may be selling him short on that. Last year, he was so fun to watch.
He's 21.
He's 20, he's so good at such a young age. Immediately, if he didn't get hurt, he would have won. Well, I don't know. Pete was pretty good, but he would have been up there in Rookie of the Year last year if he didn't get hurt. I think the Padres are going to be really, really, really good in the next 3 to 4 years. And he's going to be the leader of that team, because they have a ton of pitching coming up as well. in their minor league system, they're going to be a really good team. And then I think the best pitcher in baseball right now is Max Scherzer, and I've thought that for a long time.
Yep.
Who is it?
Is
it DeGrom? It's DeGrom, not Max Scherzer. Sorry. That's just, hey, the only other answer is DeGrom, though. I'll give you that. Back-to-back signings is pretty good. But Scherzer could retire right now and be a Hall of Famer. His intensity is really cool. He's actually a personality. He's intense to watch on the mound. He's a psycho, but it's awesome.
Watching him behind his glove right before a pitch is one of my favorite things to watch.
Do you remember, I think, was this last year or 2 years ago? I get the years mixed up now. He was bunting during batting practice. He was practicing bunts, and he bunted a ball off his nose. He broke his nose, which, like, okay, you could probably still pitch with a broken nose. And everyone was like, oh, my God, he's pitching with a broken nose, which kind of shows how, like, baseball players can, like, just suck it up and play. Like, you gotta.
Pitchers are athletes too.
Exactly. Thank you. But it was just funny to watch him go pitch in the next night he pitched, and he had like a black eye and his nose. But it was fun. It was just fun to watch.
Yeah.
No, but there's a ton of stars in baseball right now, and it goes back to what we talked about before, where they need to be marketed. They need to be willing to be marketed, and baseball needs to assist with that and find more avenues. There's a ton of them right now. I get it a little more when you look back to like 2005, when social media really wasn't a thing, and there were fewer ways to market people. Now there's a bunch. Take them, do them. Just try something to garner interest in these players and garner interest in this league, because it's going down.
For sure. And Fam, I want to hear some of your favorite stars, whether it's on the Mets or just in the league as a whole.
Well, on the Mets, I already exclaimed my love of Jacob deGrom. I think he's the best pitcher in the league. He's two years in a row Cy Young winner. He won Rookie of the Year for National League. I mean, dude is just an absolute. He's the definition of an ace. I mean, his ERA career proves it. His dominance when he pitches is just overwhelming. Honestly, it sucks. He's been on the Mets during this time, because the dude should have more wins. But besides that, I mean, I'm a really big fan of Pete Alonso now. I think he is he's like the encapsulation of what a Met should be. And he's one of the guys that's really, like, they had that whole campaign of let the kids play. Like, he's literally that slogan. Him and Ronald Acuna Jr., who is also, I'm a big fan of, is a lot of fun to watch, and they're on a good Braves team that is just, they're a lot of fun. I'm also a big fan of Freddie Freeman. I think he's been good for a while. He's a good first baseman, just a generally like a good player.
He's extremely underrated. That's what I really agree. Very, very underrated.
Very underrated. He might be the best first baseman in the National League. I would very easily put him up.
I think it's him and Paul Goldschmidt, and I think it kind of dwindles down. And Rizzo.
Incredibly quality player.
Yeah.
Big fan of Paul Goldschmidt as well. But honestly, I love the way that these young players are playing, and I love the mentality that they have. Tatis is a really good example. They make baseball fun, seeing their athleticism, and that, I think that's kind of what you need to focus on. Like a lot of the time, golf is the gentleman's sport, but it seems like baseball has now turned into the old man sport, where kind of you have to have this mentality of like respect and not honor, but like almost dignity in the way that you play. But like, you're playing a sport, like go all out,
Right.
Like, watch these guys use their bodies to their full capability, and even like guys like Pete Alonso, who could be your next door neighbor mowing the lawn shirtless and be totally fine with it because of the way he looks. But like, that dude is a supreme athlete and has incredible skill, and like I want to see them display that. And I think that's what this younger generation of players is really enveloping. They're even in the field, like a lot of people highlight baseball for hitting and how entertaining watching home runs or watching triples and stuff like that, but like fielding is so incredible when you have a good fielder. Like just watching Tatis at shortstop or watching Mookie Betts out in the outfield, it's so much fun to watch these guys fly around the field at top speed and just use everything they have to make a play. I think that's part of the accessibility of the sport is like you want to look up to these guys. You look up to NFL players and NBA stars and hockey players, and you look at their athleticism. You go, I want to be able to do that. Why can't you do that for the MLB? You should want to be like that athlete. And I think there's a lot of marketable guys in the MLB like that. So I think that's what you should go for.
I'm glad you brought up that Let the Kids Play campaign too, because it's another way that baseball has become more fun. And like the I guess they like to be called baseball purists who hate universal DH, want games to last 500 hours and whatnot. They don't like the bat flips and whatnot. And
the Tim Andersons of the world.
Like the bats. Oh, I love that one. The Tim Anderson bat slam. It's fun. Like it's fun to watch. And honestly, like pitchers get mad at it. It's like, don't give up a home run.
Yeah,
too bad. You get dunked on in the NBA and he stares at you. Don't get dunked on. Just stop him. If you're gonna get mad about it, don't let him do it.
Either foul him or step out of the way.
In that same vein, like I want to see when a pitcher strikes out the side, I want to see that pitcher fired up as he walks off the ground. It's like let everybody celebrate. Not one person can and cannot celebrate. Let them both celebrate. I think it's awesome.
It's just so stupid because, of course, it's the one sport where you got your buttoned up jersey and tucked in all nice in your belt, and it's like you're supposed to play like you're a businessman basically and be all nice and courteous. And it's like, okay, yeah, but how about a little bit of an edge? That's what's really all sports have lost today. It's more buddy, which can be good, but also it takes away some of the intrigue that sports used to have back, I think a lot in the 90s and before that. When you have a personality to the game, that's what draws people in. We keep going back to this, the marketability of baseball, but that's how you do it. You get people with personalities showing their personalities. I mean, I want to watch a guy hit the ball 400 feet and throw the bat up in the air. Like I have my Road to the Show guy in MLB The Show. Game of him playing a ton.
So good.
And he hits a home run, and I have him just stand in the box and watch it. And then when the ball lands, he just tosses his bat up in the air like 30 feet. And it's amazing. And it lands right in front of the catcher. It's like that guy would get hit in the head 100 times if he did that in real life. But no, it's like that's what I want to see. That's fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of players that have shown that there's pitchers that have their little K strut, right after a strikeout, they walk off. Or they like stare into the batter's eyes or something like that. And then you have the bat flips. You have people celebrating when they get on base and stuff like that. I love when teams get like an extra base hit and they do like the shot or the arm thing, or like they look at their dugout, and it's a team thing. It's something to get the rally. It's something to get that motivation up for the team. Some of the players that you guys named, I really love. As much as I hate the Red Sox being a Yankees fan, I love Devers. I think he's really good. I think he's going to be a player to stay for a long time. Bogarts, like you said, you can't deny it. He's really good. Pedroia, as much as I hate him, you can't not respect him. He's one of the best players that we've had in the past few decades, and there's no denying that. With the Mets, DeGrom is disgusting. It's not even fair. I feel bad for him. He's like the new Felix Hernandez at this point, where they're absolutely dominant, but they're not going to get wins because their offense can't create that for them.
Listen, man, he's proved it 2 years in a row. You don't need wins to get the Cy Young. That's all it
matters. Wins are a stupid stat anyway. You can be on a terrible team and just go like 8-14 because your team is awful.
You can go 9 innings giving up 2 hits and still lose. It's...
Exactly. No, but Tommy, you brought up Felix Hernandez. He won a Cy Young, I think, in 2012 or something
around that time. Yeah,
and he had like a 500 record because the Mariners are awful. It's so dumb, but
he's the most deserving of it. And thankfully, I think he broke that mold, and now we get to see people like DeGrom actually get rewarded for the play that they're having, and it's really nice to see.
Right.
You mentioned Mike Trout. He's this age Mickey Mantle, honestly. Complete 5-tool player. Does everything he wants, despite putting on weight to hit more home runs. He's still stealing bases like it's his job. I mean, it is his job, but like he's still doing every facet of the game at the highest level. I personally like defensive players. I love Matt Chapman.
I was
I
just going to
love
say Matt Chapman. Yep.
Matt Chapman he throws absolute gas. I mean, we see that from like an Arenado and other third basemen like that. I like Rizzo a lot. I like Javi Baez is my favorite player in the league. I could watch his defensive highlights all day. Between his tags, between his arm, he's a great hitter as well. I think he has a great baseball IQ. There's a lot of people that we've been enjoying watching throughout these years, and a lot of the young players, like you guys have said, they're really stepping up. Seeing Vlad Guerrero's son hitting that many home runs in the home run derby, unbelievable.
That was awesome.
That much power in one human being. His father is one of my favorite players of all time, and getting to see him and the love he's getting right now, a young kid that hits really well. He's getting better at third base. It's exciting to be a baseball fan with all these young stars, but it's sad to see the culture still going down. It should be boosted up with all these stars that we have. Going into another sport that I know we all love is football. And you being a huge Patriots fan, we saw Brady leave and go to Tampa, and he brought Gronk with him. How's that feel for you, almost seeing his entire career from 2001 on, 2000 on? The Jets did that, sadly. Took out Drew Bledsoe and brought in Tom Brady.
That's right. You're the reason for it.
Mo Lewis.
Mo Lewis, my guy.
But how do you feel about Brady going into Tampa, and how do you feel about him bringing Gronk, and are you still going to support him?
It's definitely – I'm obviously going to support him. The way I look at it this year, I'm rooting for two teams, and I pray to God they don't play each other in the Super Bowl because I will be extremely conflicted. But that's not going to happen. I was in denial about it for a really long time because he's my favorite athlete of all time. Not even close. Tom Brady he's been my entire, and the whole time I've watched football, it's been Tom Brady, except for that 1 year he got hurt. But I think for a while I was just in denial because I just was like, there's no way he'd leave New England. He is the face of the franchise. He's the greatest player. He's the greatest quarterback of all time. He's the greatest player in the team's history, not even by far. And there was rumblings about it first really last August. The sports talk people here were apparently put up his house for sale early on, and they're like, oh, Brady could be leaving. And then he restructured his deal so he could get out after that season. And then 2 months later, Adam Schefter reported that there's a strong possibility he could leave. And the whole time I just was like, there's no way. There's absolutely no way. Why would he leave? Why would he leave a place he won 6 Super Bowls? Why would he leave a great situation for him? But then more started to come out about kind of infighting, and that article with him and Jimmy Garoppolo from a couple of years ago kind of described a lot of that. And when it happened, I remember waking up the day he announced he wasn't coming back to New England, and I wasn't shocked. Like, I was in denial about it, but I wasn't surprised when it actually happened. And I think most Patriots fans you'll see that they have no ill will. There's no reason to. Won you 6 Super Bowls. I mean, come on. A lot of Patriots fans will be rooting for him down in Tampa Bay. It's so weird, though. They released those photos a week or two ago of him in a Tampa Bay uniform, and it's so weird to see, and I'll never get used to it as long as I live, him being in that uniform. But I mean, I'm gonna watch all the Bucs games. I'm gonna root for him. Gronk being down there, that's also very weird. But I also didn't surprise me when Gronk retired. I knew in the back of my mind there was no way he was done for sure. No, but Brady was my generation's star athlete. Everyone loved Tom Brady around here, and I think I almost, at the end of last regular season, almost went to go see him. There was a game. I was in Frostburg. There was a game. They were playing the Bengals in Cincinnati, and I was about to go back home for vacation, but I had a day free. And I was like, do I make the 6-hour trip to Cincinnati to go see Tom Brady one more time in a Pats uniform? And I was like, no, I don't want to drive 6 hours. And I should have done it because I knew he was going to leave. And I don't know. He's I don't know. He's just a great quarterback. I'm going to support him in Tampa Bay. I'm going to support Gronk in Tampa Bay. I hope they go win the Super Bowl, honestly. But it's going to be weird. It's definitely very weird.
And I think you can't count out the Pats. They still have Belichick. That still scares me as a Jets fan. I think despite Tom Brady leaving, you still have a system put in place by Belichick that's going to help them succeed. I mean, we saw it when Matt Castle came in 2007, and they still dominated. Or was it 2008? It was around that time.
It was 2008, yeah.
And it just shows that if you have the right system, and they've been doing it for years, they get the scrap piles in the free agents or in trades and stuff like that, and they make them work every single time. Who do you want to be the next quarterback? I know Jarrett Stidham is right now the quarterback for the future, but Cam Newton's still out there. There's still other players that could be traded. Who would you want out of all these quarterbacks?
Trevor Lawrence. No, I'm kidding. There's a small part of me that's like, just go 0-16 and go get Trevor Lawrence. We'll be fine. No, I mean, I think they're going to roll with Stidham. They seem to like him a lot. I think if they wanted to go get Cam Newton, they would have done it by now. He's been a free agent for several months now. I wouldn't be opposed if they signed Cam Newton, but I really think the best way moving forward, at least for this upcoming season, whatever it looks like, is having Jarrett Stidham at quarterback. He's the way they talk about him, they think he's capable. And like you said, Tommy, when they brought in Matt Castle when he came in that year in 2008, he hadn't started a game since high school. He went all 4 years at USC as a backup, didn't start a game, and then went the first couple years in the NFL as Brady's backup. And he went into 2008 and they went 11-5. And I think they were like the second team ever to go 11-5 and miss the playoffs. It was just some stupid technicality.
Yeah.
Because your Jets couldn't beat the Dolphins on the last day of the season. That was great. But like you said, there's a system in place that works. And that's why a lot of people say Brady's a system quarterback, though I strongly disagree with them. There is a system in place that is proven to win. And if they think Jarrett Stidham's the guy that can do that, roll him out there and we'll see. What do you have to lose this year? No one's expecting you to do anything. You might as well roll Stidham out there, see what you have in him, and if it's not great, go find a quarterback in next year's draft. A lot of people I thought they were going to pick one this year. They didn't. They just signed a couple undrafted guys, which I think are really mainly there for competition. But no, I think Stidham will be the guy this year. I don't want Andy Dalton. No. Actually, did he sign somewhere? I forget if Dalton's. He did go to Dallas. That's right. Yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
They were rumoring he's the backup for the most hated quarterback in the country.
For some reason. No, they were talking about Dalton, and then there were rumors like, oh, the Pats really like Andy Dalton as a quarterback. No.
No, they don't.
No, he's not good at football. I don't want him as my quarterback.
He had one of the best receivers in AJ Green in the league, exactly. And didn't amount to much.
You also have to remember that the Bengals, during most of Andy Dalton's time, went to the playoffs. Like, and you can't.
Still didn't do anything.
So yeah, they didn't win. He didn't win, but still, that's more, Tommy, than you could say for the Jets, and that's more than I can say for the Giants. So
it's true.
Andy Dalton's not good. Yeah, I agree, but he's also not this terrible trash quarterback that everyone claims he is.
How do you guys feel about your quarterbacks?
Daniel Jones either needs to have a winning season or he needs to get out.
I think Darnold, when healthy and when having a decent offensive line, could be really good. It's really dependent on that offensive line. I think Le'Veon Bell, again, depending on the offensive line, could be what he used to be. I mean, he made magic out of the little bit of blocking he got last year. And I like Jamison Crowder. I think that's a good safety net for Darnold. he's shown really good glimpses of being an amazing quarterback, but he just needs time in a pocket. He doesn't have that time, and that's why he sees ghosts against the Patriots. So that's just how it goes for him.
It was so funny watching that game at SNY, and just because we do, pre and post game coverage on SNY for the Jets as well, and just sitting in the cafeteria and watching, like Bart Scott and and our host Jonas just watch him just fall apart during that game, and then you of course get because they have him mic'd up and it's on ESPN. That's another thing I want to talk about after this. Is they have him mic'd up and he says that, and Bart Scott just goes, "Why would he say that?" It's so funny. It's so funny. But there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about. But the mic'd up thing between the NFL and the NBA and the MLB, I feel like which would you guys say does the mic'd up the best?
I think the NFL.
I would lean the NFL, because they have the whole NFL films thing, and it's like such a really grandiose production. They put a lot into it, and one of my favorite things to do after the Super Bowl is watch the mic'd up after the sound effects, whatever they call it, after the Super Bowl, because it's cool because you're not just hearing players on the field, which is what you really do in baseball mainly, and I guess a little bit in basketball. They show coaches as well. But you get to hear about what the coordinators are saying on the sideline, what the coaches are saying. And I find that's really interesting because football is a sport that I enjoy to watch, but the schemes and all that stuff that surround it, I don't know a ton about. I just watch the game, and that's what I care if my team wins or loses, and my fantasy team, of course. But I don't really get the whole the playbooks and how things work and stuff like that. And hearing coaches and players talk about it on the sidelines or other all access stuff that NFL Films does, I think really helps inform fans about that kind of stuff. But baseball definitely needs to start doing more of what they did in spring training, because I don't know if you watched when Anthony Rizzo and Chris Bryant were mic'd up during that spring training. That was hilarious.
It was so good.
And then the Mets did it too with Dom Smith.
Yeah.
And I forget who else.
And JD Davis.
Yes, that's what it was.
But the only thing I dislike about it is, because they're always ESPN productions, they also hear like A-Rod and the play-by-play guy and Jessica Mendoza, they hear them in their ear, and they're just out having conversations in the field. I hate that. I hate it. That is like so distracting as a viewer, because like I'm there, I want to hear what JD Davis is like in a game. Like I would want to hear what Pete Alonso is saying and chirping on the field. I don't want to hear them having a conversation about why they eat cookies before the game. Like I don't care.
That's true. That's a good point. We want more.
We want more authentic game noise.
We need more Terry Collins yelling at the umpire. God. We need more of that.
I watch that video probably like once every couple months. That's easily one of my favorite sports videos, I think, of all time. That and Peyton Manning's highlights from Mic'd Up, because Peyton Manning Mic'd Up is gold.
His audible calls, those are weird, but very interesting. The other good mic'd up is Aaron Boone for Utah. Aaron Boone,
exactly what I was going to say.
With our guys are savages in the box, and John Boy did that, and that was cool to see.
That was one of my favorite videos to watch. Yeah. Same thing with the Terry Collins, because I think everybody loves the inside baseball. That's why it's a phrase. Like it's what you're getting in the behind the scenes, seeing how they're normal people, even though we look up to them and everything like that. It's the same thing we get for watching behind the scenes of movies, and it's seeing how the pudding's made. And I think that's really, really cool. And I personally like Randy Moss a lot, hearing him trash talk other people. I think trash talk is one of the fun things in sports, and who could back it up, and who's actually doing what they're saying that they can do, and all that good stuff. And on field, on the court, everything like that, I think it's fantastic to hear. Fam, you said you had some other sports things you wanted to talk about?
Oh, yeah, less serious note. Matt, how do you feel about the Patriots having easily some of the most boring uniforms in all of sports? Especially in comparison now, to make even worse, the Buccaneers have some of the cleanest looking jerseys, especially with Tom Brady. That when you said it was weird to see him in a Bucs uniform, I saw him in the gray. I was like, I hate Tom Brady, but I kind of want the jersey.
It's weird because I hate gray uniforms with a passion. I think they always look bad. That Bucks gray uniform is clean. It is beautiful. No, but to answer your question, the Pats jerseys now are. I mean, there's such a minor change, but I didn't like it because they just took the color rush and made it the regular uniform, and then
The shoulder pad stripe looks awful.
It looks
awful.
very weird.
It does.
And
I don't get why the Patriots don't lean into like their old school throwback uniforms, because I think that is something that needs to come back in all of sports, is retro looking uniforms. And the Patriots have one of the coolest looking retro helmets in the league with their musket man uniform.
They do, but I love, you're talking about the Pat Patriot logo with the guy snapping the football. I love that logo, but I don't want it to be the regular logo because too much of a good thing is a bad thing. And I feel like it would just wear off on me after a while.
Yeah.
But I do think they should be able to wear those uniforms again because the red old Patriots uniform is amazing. It's top notch, A+. No, I wasn't a huge fan. And there's a little change of what they did to the uniforms. I didn't like it. Bucks jerseys, they went back to what they did before. Beautiful. I hated the ones that they had the last couple of years. They were disgusting.
Yeah.
The Chargers
best uniform to release this year.
Amazing.
Amazing. Look at Tommy with his.
You don't like him?
Look, what a boring man. This man likes the Jets.
Wait, what is it?
Boring
Why?
uniforms.
I think some of them are better than the others. I think the all blue ones are really nice. But I think some of them, they're fine. I think they're fine. I think the Giants should go back to their retro uniforms. Their 80s and 90s uniforms are some of the best of all time.
I've been saying this.
I think the Jets had really good uniforms. I like the lighter green color. I mean, I like their new jerseys now, but I agree. Retro uniforms are the way to go. Even in baseball, I like some of the vest uniforms and stuff like that.
Yes.
Where are the sleeveless vests?
They're bringing back the powder blue too.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome! Yeah. I love it.
No, the sleeveless need to come back. The powder blues are slowly coming back for certain teams that used to wear them. Like the Rangers have a new one. The Blue Jays have one.
The Cardinals powder blue uniforms are so nice. They're so
the Cardinals one. The Phillies have some now, which are pretty nice.
Yeah.
Like they're slowly getting back to it. Slowly.
When Yasiel Puig was doing the sleeveless, and he just looked massive. When he was the Reds jerseys.
When the Reds did that, yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then they almost got into a fight that game too.
Yeah, he was the guy. He was the guy that remember when that Reds pitcher Amir Garrett ran after the whole Pirates team, and then Puig is out there trying to fight them, and Puig got traded. Puig had been traded like 20 minutes before that fight, and he's running out of the dugout, getting into a brawl, and he's not even on the team anymore.
It's perfect.
It was amazing.
One thing I'd like to touch on before we wrap up, we are running kind of low on time. What have you been listening to? I know we all pretty much had the same taste in music, so I wanted to know what you were listening to during quarantine.
Well, most recently, and by most recently I mean like a couple hours ago, Black dropped his new EP, 6-Piece Hot, at midnight last night, which is pretty good. He already came out with ATL Freestyle a few weeks ago. But he has it's obviously 6 songs, but it's nice. He has a new song with Lil Baby on there, which is pretty good. Mm-hmm. Started quarantine listening to The Weeknd After Hours, which is one of my favorite albums of the year so far. But what I always keep going back to, and what is my favorite album of the year so far, is Mac Miller's Circles. I freaking love
top to bottom
that record. Top to bottom, even the 2 deluxe songs, amazing stuff. Like it's, I don't know. It's so, because I listened to Mac back during like Kids and Blue Slide Park, those days, and just to see where it went to, where he came from with kids with a lot of like high production beats, stuff like that, to come down to just like on Swimming with like the intro to 2009 on Swimming, just the violin, like mwah, beautiful.
Yeah.
And then Circles is just cool. You do get some of those songs that like the beat goes hard and stuff like that, but
dude, Blue World is my favorite song.
Yeah, Blue World. But then like Good News, obviously. Good News is amazing. Hand Me Downs is probably my second favorite on that record. I, for some reason, really got back into Stoney by Post Malone recently. I don't know what it was. I was
just a vibe.
I had the song Patient from that album stuck in my head, and now I've just been I don't know why. I don't know where it came from, but I just started listening to it a lot more now, and big fan of that. So it's been a lot of that. Future's new album. I'm not a huge Future fan, but his recent album is pretty good. And then I didn't listen to the whole record until a few days ago, but I'd never listened to Freddie Gibbs until Alfredo came out, and that he has the new song on there with Tyler. That's what caught my attention. Something to Rap About, which is one of my favorite songs of the year so far. And the overall record's pretty good as well, but that song is like, it's another example of a rap song, but it's just like a slow guitar and piano as the beat, and it's just like, it just takes you to heaven. It's such a relaxing song to listen to. So yeah, a lot of that. Want some new Kendrick Lamar too, but I'll probably have to wait for that.
I saw something on Twitter that like he released an EP, I think on YouTube or something like that. I'm not sure. Yeah, it was a couple song EP that I was gonna look up after we were done here. But you haven't listened. You haven't. When we were hanging out together at Seton Hall, you were huge into Travis Scott. You're not listening to Travis Scott right now?
Yeah, well, so I do occasionally still listen to Travis Scott. I love Astroworld. It's my favorite album ever. I just would listen to that album nonstop. And he hasn't. I mean, he's released some new stuff recently. He came out with Jack Boys in December with a couple people from his label, like Don Toliver. And that was good. And then he did the song with Kid Cudi, The Scots, which was also good. Mm-hmm. His most recent release, which technically is a Rosalia release, I didn't like it at all. The TKN song, I wasn't a huge fan of it. I don't know why. It just wasn't what I expected, I guess. But I mean, I don't know. I was big into Travis Scott. You're right. I was really, really, really into Travis Scott last year, and I still am. It's just I got too into Travis Scott and then wasn't listening to other artists as much. And then I kind of bounce around. It's weird. I was normal. Big into Travis. Yeah, I was big into Travis. Then last summer, Igor came out. Listened to Igor for like months.
I still do.
Exactly. Oh yeah, no, all the time.
It's my favorite.
It's right behind Astroworld. I love Igor so much. And then Mac this year with Circles. Yeah. And it's just been that. So I hop around every now and then.
Yeah, that's what you kind of have to do with music. It's like the ebbs and flows. Like every once in a while, I'll get into like a Kid Cudi kick and then get off of it for a couple of months and then get back on it. But the Freddie Gibbs song that you're talking about, I never heard of him. So I'm actually going to check that out right after this. And I'll let you know what I think.
Please do.
I think we're going to wrap it up right here. Matt, thank you so much for coming on today. It was really nice to talk to you again. It's been way too long. I hope you and your family stay healthy and all that. I hope everything at Frostburg continues to go well as you get back into it. And thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon.